Craig.
One more time, Ian.
Hell yeah, Craig.
There you go. That's the enthusiasm we need. Okay, how's it going, guys? Welcome to this. Yeah! Hey, guys, it's the This Podcast. Back at it again, answering this or that. No.
It's answering this.
Yeah, it's the third episode. And, we gotta really figure this out because we couldn't really figure it out last time. The time before that. We're still kind of finding our footing, trying to figure all of this out. I don't know, but we're getting there. We're getting this done. I hope. I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Oh, I could.
You know what?
Anyway.
Right? I think a major flaw in our economic practices in reference to this podcast, right? We spend too much money on extra finances like pit building, right? And
I would agree. We have it pretty
a good idea to make a big pit in the middle of an island and put two unfortunate holes down at the bottom.
Ian, you better stop saying stuff like,
and
because
say, hey,
if you keep criticizing, they might get mad at you for all this.
Shoot you, right? So today we're gonna ask this, and we're not gonna get shot at the bottom of a pit in the middle of an island, right? But I mean,
I really think you're pushing your luck, buddy.
The financial decisions of making big holes, because I for one know a thing or two about big holes.
Oh, Ian, he knows all about this topic. Hold on, let him go. We'll have him speak. Ian, speak your truth.
The financial, they big holes. They do cost a lot of money, as I should know from that one night I spent in the city. And they do cost a lot of money, and they are very financially draining, right? And so one can only expect that after making a big hole, you're gonna be broke. You're gonna have nothing, nada. You're gonna be mouth feeding your children dust out of a spoon.
This is true.
That's how much.
That's actually what I had to do 2 days ago.
You're gonna have nothing but dust and maybe some cornflakes.
Yeah.
And
well, okay. Ian, are you ready to talk about more about this later?
Beer. And maybe
we'll talk more about this later. How about that? And then let's get to reasoning this.
I'm so sorry. I got off track.
Yeah, shall I do it this year?
Should you do that? Should you do it this time? Oh, you want to reason this?
Yeah, I'm gonna reason this. I mean, you got to do it last year. I want to do it this year.
For a third episode, or once annually this episode?
Yep.
Yeah, well, you get to do it this year. You're right. It's only fair.
Definition of this. 1. Determiner.
Wait.
You use this.
Before I let you go any further, are you
ahead,
using
man.
Collins Dictionary?
Oh, of course I am. Yeah.
Good. Carry on.
Okay. 1. Determiner. You use this to refer back to a particular person or thing that has been mentioned or implied. The entire portfolio was worth $160,312. Of this amount, my investment is only really worth $7,748. 2. Pronoun. You use this to introduce someone or something that you are going to talk about. This is what I will do. I will telephone Anna and explain. 3. Pronoun. You use this to refer back to an idea or situation expressed in a previous sentence or sentences. You feel it's uneconomical. Why is this? And again, I can ask you the same question about the whole.
Yeah. I'm sure you could.
4. Ian, 4. Right?
4?
Determiner. 4. Determiner.
4. Determiner.
In
Gotcha.
spoken English, people use this to introduce a person or thing into a story. I came here by chance and was just watching what was going on, and when this girl came up to me, and she said, "Man, you really gotta season your onions." 5. Pronoun. You use this to refer to a person or thing that is near you, especially when you touch them or point to them. When there are 2 or more people or things near you, this refers to the nearest one. I like this coat better than that one. If you prefer something else, I'll gladly have it changed for you. No, this is great. Sorry, I had some, I had some Leo in my throat. Anyway.
Same.
6.
I got
Pronoun.
plenty of throat.
This is true.
I have
6.
lots of throat.
Pronoun. You use this when you refer to a general situation, activity, or event which is happening or has just happened in which you feel involved in. I thought this is why I've traveled thousands of miles, man. Thousands. You know, Ian. I used to walk along the roads back in the good old days, and they used to sing a song by the Proclaimers. It's a pretty popular song. It's titled 500 Miles or something like that. I don't know, but it's about walking. It's about walking several hundred miles to be the man who falls down at the door. And Ian, let me just tell you right now, man, I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more even just to be the man who falls down at your door. Anyway, 7. Determinate. You use this when you refer to the place you are now in or to the present time. This country's weird. This place is run like a hotel ought to be run. 8. Determiner. You use this to refer to a single occurrence in the future of a particular day, month, season, or festival. This Sunday's 7:45 performance. Ian. Hey, Ian. Hey, Ian. Ian. Hey, Ian. Ian, you sopping mop. Answer me. Ian,
Yeah, sorry.
what's this malarkey?
What?
What's this malarkey?
It certainly is.
9. Adverb. You use this when you are indicating the size or shape of something with your hands. They said the wound was only about this big. And then he showed me with his fingers. You got that, Ian? You got that? I'll take that as a yes. 10. Adverb. You use this when you're going to specify how much you know or how much you can tell someone. I don't know if this is, the best team I've ever had, but I can tell you this much. They're incredible people to be around. 11. Convention. If you say, this is it, you are agreeing with what someone had just said. British formula. People conveniently forget the things they say. Well, this is it. I don't know. Why did whatever.
Very good show.
12. Pronoun. You use this in order to say who you are or what organization you're representing when you're speaking on the telephone, radio, or television. Hello, this is John Thompson.
Hello, this is John Thompson reporting for tonight's evening news. Today we got a weather forecast that looks rather cloudy. And we have a few accidents up on County Road B.
Perfect.
Few accidents running northbound, so your nighttime commute might be looking a bit rough. You know, it would sure suck to be in an accident. It would sure suck to be in an accident. You know, it reminds me of that one time where I was cruising down the road
at a Family Guy cutaway gag
at a crisp 75 miles an hour, right? You know, speed limit was 40, but you know that's fine, right? And this family of four, they were going for a nice evening stroll, and they got.
Well, how nice of them! Oh, that's unfortunate.
They got in my way, and let me just say, you know, that Toyota Corolla was blue with like a few hints of red on it. You know, it had like a little. It got a little polka dot decal design on it. You know, it was a little red polka dot. And, you know, it was like a 2003 Toyota Corolla, right? And this happened back in April of 2022. April 21st, 2022 that
was like a lifetime ago.
At 5:00 p.m. And I didn't stop, you know. They didn't stop me. That family of four, they thought they could get in my way, but it was, you know, the thing is, right? Children are a nuisance, and you know, let's just say that some deserve to be smacked at by a 2003 Toyota Corolla going at 75 miles an hour.
This is true.
Yeah, and I'm glad we can agree on this, Aiden. That's why you were a good choice to be stuck down in this hole with me.
Well,
but you know,
you can't. You gotta be careful, man. Well,
I just really despise the Their podcast. You know, Their
really Their, man.
It's really poorly made and thought out. You know, they're on their third episode and all. Whoop.
Make up your mind. What kind of There you want to be?
You know, see.
Anyway, just be careful. Let's go back to what you were saying.
I'm just saying they need a.
Yeah. That's why they grabbed me. 13. Determiner. You use this to refer to the medium of communication that you are using at the time of speaking or writing. What I'm gonna do in this lecture is focus on something very specific. That doesn't have the word "this" in it.
What I'm going to do during this?
Who cares? What am I gonna do?
Oh no!
This is John. He tastes good. That is larger. This is larger than that.
John,
the less remote in thought of two contrasted things of the possibilities, this is more likely to be that. The fact, idea, etc. that is being or is about to be mentioned, presented, etc. This convinces us. Now hear this.
This makes me feel incredibly lustful.
That's what I love to hear. Hey, Ian.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Do you?
Yeah.
What's the question? This?
Yep.
That's
I want you to answer this.
Oh boy. See, that's a very long question. And, you know, I feel like I'd have to write a whole thesis to answer that long question.
That makes sense. I understand.
It is a word that can
This is a pretty big question.
TH is, right? That's like 3 letters.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
and so, right, and it's usually meaning like this. It's usually mean.
As the Strokes once said, "Is this it?"
It sure is. This is it. But it is not this.
Awesome.
No, this is it, but it is not this. You know what I'm saying? It's like all squares are.
It's like a double negative.
It's like
when you multiply
No.
-4 times -4, you get -16.
Listen, you're thinking of it wrong. It's like how all squares are circles, but not all circles are squares. You know?
Oh, it's like how when you take a pillow and you throw it at the wall breaks open.
It's like how if you take a picture of a lemon, right, and you get juice in your eye. You know?
Oh, I love lemons.
It's like when you take a picture of a lemon and your sibling starts having a stroke. You know?
Oh yeah. We've all been there, you know.
Yeah, and personally,
Or I guess a better metaphor could probably be when you throw a pond in the lake and then the clocks crack open.
yeah. Or when you take the dehumidifier and you humidify it.
Or like when you turn the lights on and then the sun dies.
Or
what are we talking about again? This? This?
No. I think it's more akin to when you're poaching elephants and then your blood starts curdling. That's what should happen to all.
Oh my God, Ian, you've solved it. You've solved this.
That's what
this thing right here, Ian. You've solved it.
That's what
Ian, you did it. That's it. That's it. It's this. You got it.
I hope all.
That's it, man.
I hope all poachers
amazing
blood solidify and consolidate.
Agreed. But Ian, you gotta recognize Ian. You just solved this.
Have I?
We got it, man. You just solved it.
I have.
Actually, that reminds me of that one time, right? And I was working at my shop, and this guy walks in and he says, "Sir," "where can I buy a bottle?" And I said, "Well, it depends on what you want the bottle of." And he's just like, "No, where can I buy a bottle?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "A bottle of wine, a bottle of grape juice. What do you want, man?" And he says, "No, where can I buy a bottle?" And I said, "Sir, you haven't answered my question. Is this what you want?" And I handed him a bottle of tequila. And he goes, "No, where can I buy a bottle?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're not helping me whatsoever." And he's like, "Fine, if you don't want to give me a bottle, then I'll just take my business someplace else. You don't want to give me a bottle of whiskey?" "No." And I'm like, "Oh, you want whiskey? Go ahead. I got some whiskey in the back." "Yeah, sure." He's like, "No, you don't want to give me a bottle." And so he walks out. And then the next guy comes in and he's like, "What's that guy's deal?" And I'm like, "No clue."
See, that is an interesting point you make, right? That's an unfortunate set of circumstances you have. That's what we call here a bit of a conundrum, right? You lost yourself
the pickle.
You lost yourself the business, but the guy didn't seem to want much business anyways. But you know what?
No, he wanted the bottle.
That brings us back.
I thought I made that point very clear. He wanted a bottle.
No, he didn't want your business. Because he.
That reminds me of another music anecdote. One time I was sitting in the parking lot, getting all my ecstasy rocks out with a golf pencil. When I see this guy Marty trying to carry his big old sofa up the stairs all by himself, and so I go over and I said, "Hey man, you want any help with that?" And Marty, he just rolls his eyes and he says, "No, I want you to cut off my arms and legs with a chainsaw." And so I did. And then he gets all indignant on me. And he's like, "Hey man, I was just being sarcastic." Well, that's just great. How am I supposed to know that? You know, I'm not a mind reader for crying out loud.
That is that's a
Uh
that this
huh.
right. And
Yeah.
that story actually brings me to a very good point, right? So
Yeah.
there was this one time, right? And
Mhm.
I took myself to a Target, and I got me a stack of printer paper, and I wanted to return me stack of printer paper because half the sheets were ripped. Right? It was very inconvenient because the printer wouldn't print when half the sheets were ripped. It only printed out black, but I wanted it in magenta, right? So I take the printer
Right.
paper to the return desk, and they tell me, "Sir, this printer paper ain't no good because it's ripped." And I said, "That's precisely why I'm returning it." And then like, we see. And they gave me my money.
Mhm. A classic mistake.
And my printer printed out some nice high quality pictures of your mother.
Oh, that's crazy. My mother,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, yeah. They were high quality pictures that I
Mhm.
they were high quality pictures that I plastered up on my wall.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm your mother's.
You know, I've actually not seen my mother in several years
I you
since we
you
got
I am your
brought down
I
to.
am your mother's biggest fan, Aiden.
Do you still have any pictures?
I
I would like to see my mother again.
I am the number one subscriber to her OnlyFans.
Oh, that maybe you can keep those pictures to yourself, Matt.
I think I will. And then I burned them.
Oh, okay.
Cause see, this
Well,
this is a this is a this is a very nice religious household, and we do not subscribe to heresy. We do
oh,
not
is this?
support heretics like your mother. Your mother will be burned. Your
Hmm.
mother is a heretic. That's why I'm the number one
That's
subscriber
odd.
to her.
This is my first time hearing of this.
See, I'm the number one subscriber to her OnlyFans because I needed evidence. Evidence that my people could rally against. That my people would know
How could I have not known
that we
this?
have come across a heretic. Because she lives a double life in.
Damn. Speaking of a double life, I had my shop, right? But then out of the back of my shop, I also had a car dealership. Okay, and so one day at my car dealership, this guy walks in. He's like, "Hey, buddy, I need myself an automobile." And I said, "You want an automobile?" And he said, "I need an automobile." And I said, "Well, we got some fine motors here." And I gestured him toward. I shoo him away toward the place we got all the cars. About 5 minutes later, he comes up to me and says, "Man, I looked all over. I looked up and down, left, right, east, west, center, and everything else that's not the center. And
Yeah,
I just couldn't find your cars." And I said, "Well, man, maybe you didn't look hard enough." And he's like, "No, no, no, let me show you."
yeah,
And so I walk with him. I walk with him, right? I walk back to the
yeah,
wing where we keep all the cars. Okay,
yeah.
and he just gestures broadly to the big old empty room, and he says, "Well, where are the cars at?" And I said, "Well, sir, it appears as though we've sold them all." And he says, "Scusi?" And I said, "We've sold them all, man. Business is booming." And he said, "Oh, well, that's unfortunate. You got anything else that like any other cars anywhere else?" And I said, "Man, all we got right now is a car." And he said, "Oh, really? It's fun. I'll take a look." And so I'm like, "All right, cool." Right. So I lead him back. Ian, you following? You following? I take him to the back room, alright, where I grab it and I bring it off the wall and I hand it to him and he tells me, man, this ain't a car. This is a bicycle that's only got one wheel. And I'm like, hey, listen, you care for this guy. You look out for this little baby right here, and she'll take you where you need to go. Trust me. And he says, what do you mean? She's only got one wheel. And I'm like, you know who only had one wheel? The fucking Romans. And he said, what are you talking about, dude? And I'm like, I honestly, I have no clue. But I'm trying to tell you, right, is that this car, it's not a bike, it's a car. And I said, this car, it'll get you where you gotta go. And he said, but there's no wheel. And I said, you don't need a wheel. Doc Emmett Brown didn't need wheels. And he said, that's true. And I said, it is. And what else is true? I can get you a great discount. He said, ooh, a discount. And I said, yeah. And so we go back. He makes the purchase. He walks out and I smile and say, another happy customer.
That's a really inspiring story. That just shows that if I removed all four wheels from my car, no, all three, if I removed all three wheels and left one, that means I could still do great things. And I could.
You could, but I'm not done with this story though. I'm not done with this story.
Down the freeway at 65 miles an hour.
Well, you see that there's more to hear though. You gotta listen to this,
There's
right?
more? Oh boy.
There's more to hear. You gotta listen to this, okay? The next day, the audacity. This guy comes back into my shop, dragging along this thing. Not even driving it, dragging it along behind him. He comes back in and he says, bro, you fool. And I said, what's up? And he said, buddy, this thing ain't going nowhere. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Did you pedal? And he said, yeah, I pedaled, but there's no fucking wheel. And I'm like, buddy, you didn't pedal hard enough. And he said, what do you, there's no tire, there's no spokes, there's nothing. Nothing. And I said, listen, I'm a guy who knows how to drive, right? I work at a car dealership. Look at me. I'm a guy who knows a thing or two about cars. And let me tell you, this car right here, and I just went back to the bicycle. This car, this, you just gotta put some work into it. And he said, are you sure? And I said, certainly. And he says, fine. If I have any more issues, it's your ass. And I said, what about my ass? And he said, I don't know. It's probably real pleasant. And I said, yeah, it is. Don't go judging my ass. And he says, I'm sorry. That was getting called for. And I said it was. Anyway, so he exits my shop. And I'm like, oh, this guy is really starting to give me some bad vibes, some ooftas, and, maybe one or two lock the doors and hope he doesn't come back. Because honestly, I'm kind of sick of this business. You know?
I do know. And honestly, that story is really inspiring. Because it just goes to show that if I removed all 3.5 wheels from my car, that I could still, go to Britain.
Yeah, Ian, I think you got this.
I'm gonna drive to Britain
I think you got
in my not so 3.5 wheeled car. I'm gonna drive me to Britain. I'm gonna buy me some fish and chips. But it's gonna be the worst damn fish and chips I've ever tasted in my life because they forgot to remove the fish.
Sounds accurate.
Right? And it's gonna be the worst fish and chips of my life. They forgot to remove the rest of the fish from the chips. And
yeah.
And the people there, they're just gonna be so pleasant and kind. Yet I can see them clearly behind the counter, leaving the fish inside of the chips for the rest of their customers to deal with. And then I can just...
This is unfortunate.
And then I can just... I can tell them in my most stern voice, pal. How can you be so kind and friendly when you're leaving the fish in your chips, pal, if this wasn't Britain, I might have to neuter you. And
This is an accurate statement.
yeah, and let's just say, they're walking out. At the end of the day, when they're closing up shop, they're walking out with one less ball. Only one.
Yep.
Because see,
Yep.
you need to double whammy me in order to lose both. You need to give me.
Yep.
You really need to wombo. You need to really wombo combo me in order to lose both. And that's why Aiden only has one ball.
I only have one ball. This is true.
He only has one ball. He only has one.
But it's okay. It's just a cloning error. Oh shit, did I just say cloning?
He has one.
And I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to talk about cloning on the podcast. Oh fuck.
We're not supposed to talk about what?
We're not supposed to talk about cloning, right?
Who's talking about cloning?
Oh shit.
I'm talking about neutering.
I let it slip, man. I let it slip. This is it, dude. This is it. They're gonna get me now, man.
Aiden,
they're gonna get me now.
Aiden,
oh, fuck, they're coming.
Aiden.
Oh shit, dude, not again.
Come on, Aiden. This is why you only have one ball, okay?
oh god, here they come. This is it, man. This is.
Aiden. This is why, Aiden, you only have one. And it's a dying shame. Aiden's dead, fellas. And it's a dying shame. Aiden has unfortunately passed due to his lack of both balls and his infertility, and he has no balls. He's got absolutely none. Zero. Zilch. And it's really unfortunate because he's dead. And since he's dead, that means this is the third episode of This podcast.